How does your philosophy of inspiration-led working fit with the current economic climate?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would argue now is the worst time to be thinking about doing something you love or changing direction or following your heart or doing something that means more to you. And my answer to that is, well, the human spirit that I believe is within everybody, it's not a religious thing, it's just everybody's got a life force in them. That is independent of recessions, depressions, economic conditions. I think sometimes actually adversity and difficulty inspires people to discover more of their own abilities. And I'm seeing more and more people, certainly in my own coaching practice and my work, saying, actually, I know I can't rely on the economy, I know I can't rely on my employer for security. Actually, I'm the only security there is. I am actually going to take charge of my own career, even if I'm still employed. I'm still going to take charge of my own career. A lot more people are these days thinking of creating a brand for themselves, even within their own organisation, and being known as the person to go to for particular abilities or creative skills or problem-solving abilities. And I'm seeing more and more people going, actually, my employer's not really valuing me very much, they're not giving me much scope, but I know that I'm good. So even in difficult times, I know I can flourish. So they're actually starting their own businesses. They're leaving organisations and saying, I'm going to make myself available on a freelance and entrepreneurial basis for my values and skills and abilities. So actually I see it as causing a lot more people to take charge of their own lives and their own destiny and flourishing doing it.
Many business leaders feel proud simply to be providing employment for people. Isn't that a good and worthy purpose?
It is, on one level, it's a wonderful purpose, to provide income for people so they can support themselves, their families, their friends, or their communities in whatever way. It's wonderful. So I don't knock that for 1 minute. I'm not saying that's not important. It is. What I'm an advocate of is saying, okay, at the end of the day, most work is about earning money, but the way you do that can have so many more dimensions to it as well. That if the way that you earn your money to support yourself and your family can be something that really inspires you or touches your heart or allows you to fulfill yourself or really feel like you're living your own authentic and real life. If you can earn your living in that way, I just think that's such a wonderful possibility than saying, okay, you're earning money, you should just be grateful even if you're miserable while you're doing it. I just think we're robbing ourselves and we're robbing each other. When I started doing this work myself many years ago, I thought, well, isn't it just quite selfish to go off and do what you want to do? And then I realised that actually I was a bit miserable, and therefore I probably was a bit miserable to the people around me, and I wasn't always good company. So I'm a great believer that if you're not happy, that's contagious. It's going to influence the people around you. So if you're happier and more fulfilled in what you're doing and more energised, everyone's going to get the benefit of that. And I think what I've also personally learned over the last 20 years or so is as I've changed my life around and I'm living my kind of purpose, if you like, and I'm living at the highest place in me, thousands of people have benefited from that. I've benefited from it, but so have other people. So instead of it being selfish to lead a kind of purpose or inspiration-led life, I think it's actually a very generous thing to do because everybody gets the benefit from it.
So what are the common threads in an inspired culture, regardless of size, structure, or industry?
I think what really inspires people is some kind of leadership that's inspiring. Somebody who in the organisation embodies the values that they want the organisation to have. So not just tells people, but lives them and breathes those values. I think what inspires people is feeling valued and appreciated, and opportunities for growth. But the whole idea of valuing and appreciating, I think we so overlook it. I was reading research a few years ago for my first book, and it said something like nearly 50% of people that recently left a job said that feeling unappreciated was one of the major reasons that they left. And I'm a great believer that people kind of join companies and leave bosses. They like a company, but when they work for a boss that doesn't seem to develop them, value them, or give them any importance, they're going to leave, or they're going to go and find somebody that does value them. I think it's a human need to feel valued and appreciated. The psychologist William James, towards the end of his life, had spent his whole life kind of going through the human psyche. And at the end of his life, he was almost embarrassed because he said, at the end of my life, I realised that the thing that people want more than anything is to feel appreciated. And I think if we could set up organisations that genuinely appreciate people, and I think what happens is it can be used to manipulate people. It's like, here's another carrot, we'll appreciate you if you do X, Y, and Z. But I think when people feel genuinely appreciated for who they are and what they contribute, they do incredible things. I've worked for a not-for-profit organisation for 22 years, And for 22 years, we have had people volunteering their time, talent and energy. I've done it for 22 years myself. I've volunteered. Why? Because I felt valued, because I felt appreciated. And I think we sometimes think if we're doing a job, the money is the appreciation, we shouldn't expect to be thanked for doing it, or treasured for doing it, or valued for doing it. But I think, even if you're doing a great job, you should be telling people you're doing a great job. Thank you for doing such a great job. Because then I think people think, well, voluntary work is what you do for appreciation, and paid work is what you do for money. And I'm a great believer that you should, do paid work for money and for appreciation and feeling valued. And I think more and more these days, I see a desire for personal growth and personal potential being part of what inspires people. So people not just hired to do a job, but hired to grow into who they can become in an organisation and give them the support and opportunities to keep growing.
The idea of having an inspiration-led culture that creates more innovation is great. However, many people may say, so what? Does it bring better business results?
I believe it does. I really do. And I'm not just saying that as an advocate of an idea. I touched on it earlier, but the Times, top 100 companies to work for, that seems to be testament to the idea that, places that are good to work, that people feel valued and appreciated and inspired, they're going to be the top companies. I think more and more companies are realising this. A couple of years ago, I was invited to go work with a firm of Swiss auditors. And my initial thought was, well, that's not going to be the most inspiring of things to do. And before I went to give my presentation about inspiration, I asked the training manager who was hiring me, and I said, why do you want me to do this? What's the business case for doing this? And he said, our younger auditors and technicians around this area, they're now realising, or the company are now realising, that these people don't want to work for a boring boss. They want to work for somebody who they can look up to and respect. And if they want to be competitive in the job market, their managers need to be good role models and need to be a source of inspiration to the people working for them. So far from it being just something they thought it'd be nice to do with a tick in the box, they saw a great business case, because if they didn't do this, they were going to lose some of their best auditors. So they needed to train their managers to be more inspiring so that they could retain their best talent. So I think there's a great business case for this as well. Well, I know there's a great business case for this. But I think some people find it hard to make the mental transition to think this is good business, because good business is, like you've asked, it's often about believing you have to push people and almost abuse people into peak performance, whereas I think you draw peak performance out of people.